I hit record. What's up, everybody? What's going on? So welcome to this week's or bi-weekly action and implementation call. Do you guys remember me referring you the book, The Big Leap? You guys remember that?
Well, I've been reading it from a different program.
The Big Leap is by Hendricks.
Mm-hmm.
And I avidly encourage you to grab a copy of that book, even if you just download the audio, because it's like,
You said The Big Leap?
Yeah, The Big Leap. The Big Leap. It is a huge aha moment for growth. And I just truly believe that people who are high achievers experience what she calls an upper limit problem on a deeper level than those who are not. Because high achievers are always disappointing themselves because they continually raise the bar on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, oh, I want to do this. And then when they do it, they're so future focused that they raise the bar again without even knowing it and without celebrating exactly where they are. And so this conundrum happens where you start to feel like you're not enough and you start to self-sabotage your behavior. Well, Gay talks about the upper limit problem in the sense that we all have a space of greatness that we're comfortable with. Does that make sense? You have a level of succeeding that you're okay with. And once you begin to supersede that level, you begin to sabotage your own efforts because you want to stay comfortable. That's when the thoughts of the fears and the doubts and the judgment of people are going to think this about me, or what are people going to say? They're going to think I'm money hungry. That's when all of that stuff starts to happen. And then unconsciously, you begin to behave in ways that cause you not to succeed any further than where you currently are. And in order for you to get to a point of growth and exponential growth, and to be able to grow from the next level to the next level to the next level, one, you must be aware that this is a situation that's occurring. And once you have that awareness, you need to begin to learn how to deal with it. And so I want to give you a couple of points on how to deal with it, and also encourage you guys to download that book and begin reading or listening to it immediately. So the first thing that I wanted to share, one, is to have the awareness that it's actually happening. So you'll feel this from time to time. It happens in your thoughts, but you get a little taste of something going good. So you guys tell me this. Have you ever had it happen, or you feel like this is like your life story, where a window of success opens and then all hell breaks loose in your life? And you're like, this is like the recurring thing in my life. That is the number one indicator that the upper limit is working. That's the number one indicator. So you have this feeling of taking one step forward and two steps back, and it's been that way most of your life. Because there is something going on in your mind, inside of yourself, that says, okay, we've reached a point where this is so much, this is only so much that I can handle. This is the best that I can do. Okay? I have had upper limit problems, if I look back, for as far back as I can remember, because I've always been a high achiever. I've always accomplished things, and things have always come easily for me. And I didn't want other people to feel bad. So I would limit myself and pretend like I wasn't as smart as I was, as good as I was. I would accomplish just enough to come in second place and not first place all the time. And it didn't start happening until I was probably in junior high school, when I realized I was winning all the awards. And then people would tell me things like, the whole world doesn't revolve around you. Let somebody else get a turn, things like that. And I started to internalize it. It got so bad that in high school, I made it to CIF. I made it to the CIF preliminaries, and I legitimately missed my race. I was the only freshman who made it from my league, and I missed my race on purpose. So when I look back over my life, I heard them call my name. And when my coach asked me, I said, I didn't hear him call. When I look back over my life, I think about so many instances where I hit my upper limit and just decided to sabotage. It wasn't always conscious, because over time, remember, when you build a habit, it becomes autopilot, right? Case in point, you drive home, you end up there, you have no idea how you got there. Right? Once you've done it so many times, it just happens without your permission. You guys with me? It begins to happen with, you don't have to give it permission. Your body knows, your mind knows what to do. Your brain knows how to get you home. So you drift off thinking about something else and you end up in your driveway and you're like, oh shoot, I could have had an accident. The same thing happens with your self-sabotaging behavior. I think I might do a live stream on this. The same thing happens with your self-sabotaging behavior. After a while, it knows what to do. You've trained it enough that it's like, okay, we've reached our limit. We're having those feelings, we're having those thoughts, and it begins to sabotage you. Begins sabotaging your efforts on your behalf. You guys with me? So I want you guys to become extremely aware that this is working. Regardless of your permission for it to work or not, regardless of the desires of your heart, regardless of the promises of God on your life, this thing is working against you. Okay? So how do we start to become aware? So now that you've heard it, your reticular activation will kick in and you'll go, okay, is this an upper limit problem? You'll start to be, so the awareness is the first thing, right? And then from the awareness, you want to begin to challenge those upper limit problems, right? So now you're aware and you okay, so let's say this. So once you're aware, you want to get to know, like, what's my limit? What's the thing that triggers it for me? So for me, it used to be, there was a money limit. So you can have money limitations, you can have relationship limitations. There's all kinds of limitations. And you have to know what those limitations are, because what will happen is you will begin to spiral in all areas of your life. It won't allow you to be any more happy than so happy, any more successful than so successful, any more confident and feeling sexy about yourself than so sexy, right? So understand and be aware, and then begin to challenge those limits. I wrote down some notes. So I want you to challenge the limits by pushing the envelope on those limits, okay? So this is where, when I talk about taking action and leaning into the discomfort and taking uncomfortable action, but as you begin to conjure up those worst case scenario images in your mind, you begin to start thinking, oh my God, something's gotta give. You start to feel inadequate, because that's what will happen. A big client will pay you, and then all your worst case scenarios will either start to come true, or you'll just start conjuring them up, right? I'll never get another client. Nobody else is going to pay me this. Who am I to charge this much? They're not going to get the result. What if they don't get the result? It might come in the form of what if questions. That's your upper limit, right? So how do you challenge it? So you challenge it that as those questions, I would say in two ways, as those questions start to come up, I would exchange the what ifs for positive what ifs. That's the first thing. But then give yourself permission to experience the success and the joy in whatever area. Stop and give yourself permission, and stop and allow yourself to experience the joy of the success that you're currently having. Because as high achievers, we automatically turn off that immediate success, and we'll say something like, well, that's not enough, I need another client, right? And then the that's not enough spirals into, oh my gosh, I'm still in debt, I'm still have bills to pay, that's the spiral that begins to happen. So pressing the limits by allowing yourself to relish in your successes. It's one of the reasons why I press for you guys to look for something that you can celebrate every couple of weeks when we come together, because it's not a normal habit and we want to rewire yourselves. Okay? When you get ready to step into something big and that I'm not ready, all the doubts and fears come in, again, challenge the what ifs to, what if this actually works? What if I am ready? And then allow yourself to just step into it and experience the fact that you made it to that point. I cannot tell you the number of times that I didn't apply to speak at a certain conference or didn't follow through to do certain things, because even though I was invited, I allowed my upper limit to say, you know what? you're not ready yet. Right? I don't know what to say. I don't know what to type on the application. All of these things start to happen, and then the opportunities would just pass me by. If I had the ability to, or if I had known at the time, I could have stopped and gone and went, okay, what is the truth in this moment? The truth is I was invited, right? The truth is I made it to the CIF preliminaries as a freshman. So I was ready, right? And what I did in that moment is I just allowed my upper limit to take over. And I said, you know what? I'm just a freshman. There's no way I'm going to win this time anyway. So it's not a big deal. And that's the other thing that would happen. You will begin to rationalize the sabotaging behaviors. Oh, it's not a big deal. No one's going to notice. Okay? Be aware. Okay? So push the limit and reframe that discomfort that you're feeling. So awareness, push the boundaries or push the envelope on your upper limit, and reframe the discomfort or the negative doubts that you're having. Reframe them. In the beginning, just like it took you time to build the habit of sabotaging yourself, in the beginning, you're going to have to stop and go through each step. Over time, it will begin to happen on autopilot, just like all things happen once they become part of who you are. It becomes easier and easier. It's just what you do, and you won't think about it anymore. In the beginning, you have to consciously decide that this is the way that I'm going to behave, despite what everything is telling me, despite what my senses say, despite the overwhelming sense of uncomfortableness, fear, doubt, I'm not ready, all of those things. I am going to choose to do something different, and it's not going to be easy. It is easier said than done. Easier said than done. But every time that you choose to press forward through the upper limit is another time that you are working that muscle, and it will become easier over time for you to just do it. Even though the discomfort will be there, it'll be easier for you to choose to move through it. Got it? All right, so I wanted to share that with you guys today because I'm sensing that there's a lot of upper limit hitting going on right now. And I don't want to ignore my intuition in that way. And I wanted to make sure that I share that with you guys because people think, and you might believe this too, like you just need one big break. You just need one big, strategy. You need, the money to invest in a thing. And the reality of it is that your outside will reflect your inside at all times. And if I only could spend time doing one thing with you guys without ever giving you another strategy, this is what I would choose to do every single time. Is to focus on the inside job, focus on the inside work. And that's seriously the truth of the matter. Because if you can work on the inside with honesty and truth, don't lie to yourself. That's the thing. We believe our own story so much so. That's where the validation comes in. It's happened so often that it becomes our truth, and you've got to rewrite the story. For many, many years, struggle was the truth for me. It was so much my truth that I reframed it into what I thought was a powerful story until a coach called me on it. And what my story was is that I have been a fighter all my life. And so guess what I did? Every opportunity I got, I created the opportunity to fight to get whatever I wanted. And what she said to me is, what if that wasn't the truth? What if you could just allow it to happen, that you didn't have to fight tooth and nail for everything? And it took me a while to get there, and it still rears its ugly head sometimes, but I'm aware of it, that I don't have to struggle and fight for everything, that I don't have to work 24/7, that I don't have to be 25 times better than somebody else in order to receive a status or an acknowledgement or a client or a level of pay that I've already earned whatever, and it's not even about earning. Like, no one can take what's yours. You know, there's a saying in Christianity, what God has for me is for me. And I think a lot of times we say that with our mouth. There's an entire song that says, what God has for me is for me, nobody can take it. They can't. What is yours is yours. It's a divine appointment. You don't have to earn your way to it. You don't have to wait for someone to hand it to you, but you do have to become aware and step into it. Go get it. And as long as you're holding yourself back, you won't go get it. You won't go get it. So it took me many, many years to figure that out. You know, I created this whole story. Like, my bio was all about my struggle and me being a fighter. And I reframed that from me being a fighter to me being a champion. Understanding that I've already won, right? I'm a winner, not a fighter. Because a fighter can't be a fighter if there's nothing to fight. So I created all of this fight in every area of my life. Everything was a struggle. So become aware of where you begin to validate your upper limit. It might seem even rational, but you've got to become aware that that's a story that you've created and conjured up and rationalized so that it is now your truth. And we need to rewrite that. Okay? All right. Coolio. So that's all I wanted to share. So I'm going to open up now. You guys can give aha moments from what we just talked about, your celebrations, and then we'll figure out who needs profit seats for the day.
Yeah, that was, it's just confirmation. Like, your intuition just happens to be on track with whatever is going on.